Good morning, welcome back to my channel. Out walking Kobe this morning. I was up late blinging and I was gonna sleep in today, but Kobe had other plans for me. So since I was walking, I decided I'd get on here and fill in some of my story. And what's I noticed has been happening is that as I'm going through this journey and reflecting backwards, I might be changing some of my thought process about everything and my theories. At first I was saying my father is a narcissist, and I believe that we all have narcissistic tendencies in us, so we all display some forms of narcissism. But as I'm reflecting backwards and I'm looking at everything, I'm now wondering, and this is just a thought, I don't know, I haven't come to the full conclusion yet, if my father was the narcissist or if he was the enabler, and if he ended up with narcissistic women like his wife, my stepmother, and my mom, who have very similar traits and I feel fall more into that malignant narcissistic category. But I'm just putting that out there as I continue my story. And if anybody has any feedback after listening, they can definitely provide that. I'm open to it. But so where I left off was that I feel that I was saying that I was scapegoated initially because my mother had a child for my father, even though they were married at the time. They were at the end of the marriage, and he did not want to have any connection to her, but she's had me anyway. So from about the time, till about 2 years old, of my memories, at about 2 years old is when he met. When I was 2, is when he met my step monster. I like to call her that because I don't even like to attach the word mother to anything related to her. But he met her. She had a daughter. If I was 2, her daughter she was 4 at the time. And so up until that time, my memories of the relationship with my father were great. He was actually a father. I was a daddy's girl. He was the parent that provided the affection, the physical affection, the hugs, and he played with me. And I just remember vividly being a daddy's girl and being very excited to be in his company. And then he met this lady. And what started to happen is that her daughter, her family period, felt like it was, I needed to go. I was not welcome around there. I was treated as such. I remember I would call my father when I was at home, and if the stepmother's mother, because she ended up moving in with my father and them, if she answered the phone and I would call and ask for my dad, she would just hang up the phone on me. When I would go over there, they were very hostile towards me. But because I wanted to see my dad, I just didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't complain about what was going on until there was one particular situation where I was calling my father. My mother happened to be standing nearby and witnessed the interaction. She heard me ask for my father and then saw me go silent. So she asked what happened, and that was when I told her what was going on, that every time I called, she would hang up the phone on me. And so my mom confronted my father about it. My father confronted they weren't married at the time, but confronted his partner at the time about what her mother was doing. And their justification for it was that her mother, because of the culture and her age, looked at me as an outside child, and outside children aren't accepted, which is I mean, how absurd. And it was that. I mean, my parents were married to each other. She came into the relationship with a child that she had for somebody else's husband, who had abandoned his responsibility to her child. And she meets my father, who was kind enough to accept her with this child that didn't have a father. And her agenda from that point onward and up to this day was to erase me from my father's life and make him be the father to the child that was rejected. It's a crazy dynamic, but that is exactly what happened. And my father was down for that. He was actually okay with it. And it didn't take long before I just became the scapegoat. So this is, I guess, another thing I want to talk about, step-parents. Step-parents, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've not had the experience of a step-parent who accepted the partner's child as one of their own. My experience with step-parent was horrendous. This lady was abusive. She was vile, cruel. I feel like when people are abusing children, they forget that the children are going to grow up and become adults and will possibly speak about the abuse. Because, you know, the things that these adults did and then also encouraged their children to do to me, all out of some sort of weird jealousy, hatred. I mean, I can't really pinpoint why or how you could hate a child so much so to abuse them, but that's exactly what happened to me. My father would pick me up from my mom's house, take me to his house, drop me off there, and then leave. At the time, my father was having several affairs. I mean, he had other outside relationships from outside of his home, so he was hardly there. And so he drove a taxi in those days, so he would just use the, oh, I'm working thing, and he would be out. But while he was out, I would be there getting abused by his wife and her daughter at first. And then as she continued to have children for my father, they would, you know, teach those children to be disrespectful and hurtful to me. So that was my life. I would go visit. I would spend probably about Friday to Sunday. Sometimes there would be an extended weekend or a vacation or something, and I'd be around them. But during that whole time, it was just abusive, and I wasn't protected in any way from it. If I would say anything to my father about it, he would just tell me to deal with it. Another thing I want to say is, when you're in an environment like that where people know that you're not protected, that you're the scapegoat, all these negative things are projected on you. If there's somebody in that environment who's looking for a victim to essay, who are they going to choose in that situation? And I'm not going to go into detail about that, but just know that when you're scapegoating somebody, when you're treating a child as though they don't deserve to be protected, and you throw them out to the wolves that are out there looking for victims, they're looking for the perfect victim. And when you're doing that to a child, you're creating the perfect victim. So, cautionary tale as well about that. And I think I'll end that here. I'll say, mothers who have children for men who you are not parenting in a cooperative way, I wouldn't send my child in an environment for another woman to be responsible for your child, because chances are more likely than not that she's not going to take care of your child. She will avenge her issue with you by using your child, like what happened to me. Anyway, have a great day. I'll be back.